26th day of the challenge. That was yesterday's painting. Today's painting is here. So I did this whole figurative one on some watercolor paper. Pretty fun, interesting. I wanted to do something simple and figurative, and it worked out. Wasn't much of a challenge today. Other than trying to figure out what to do. Didn't feel like using a bunch of materials like tape and all that, so I decided to go with something that would be a little bit more fun, I guess. So I did a figurative painting, and I reminded myself that that is an option. So I like that I was able to complete a painting in that style in a day, and I knew it only took a few materials. Like you can see, it only, well, it's probably more colors than it shows, but at least the way it reads, it's essentially like 3 colors, which are all warm tones. So I like that it's just like this really warm painting that still has enough contrast that shows what it is. So it was a fun exploration there. So I might just end up doing more of those for the rest of this challenge, as long as I got paper. I think I maybe got one more sheet in that pad, and then I gotta find some more. Watercolor would have taken too much work and layering and adding up stuff, so this is the simplest version I can knock out, and I did. So come back day 27, and we're gonna start rounding this thing out. Out of here. Shout out to the weekend. MBEYARTS here for day 27 of the 30-day challenge. I'm getting reinvigorated. I jumped back into my sketchbook. I got this watercolor sketchbook. So I jumped back in there to do some paintings, and I'm enjoying what's coming out of it. So, it's fine. It was pretty easy to get to work today, knowing what I had to work on material-wise. It just a matter of finding the image, and I randomly screenshot images that I like all the time. It's what a lot of my work is about. So yeah, I sketched out the drawing. I tried to pick one, ended up picking, I think I worked from 3 images actually. 2 of them were very similar, so I just referenced the head from one. I'm tripping. But anyway, I referenced about 2 to 3 images on this one to make the painting. So it's not done, but I got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, there's 4 layers of paint on there, including the background. So yeah, it's supposed to be, fun and playful. As far as I say fun in the way of saying it looking like I have fun creating it, put it that way. So I really enjoyed putting this together, and then kind of slowly working with my colors to decide how vibrantly I wanted to paint them, or I will paint them. So I think I got more layers to go than I'm looking at it, because I wanted this blue. I have a darker blue that I wanted to use, and I might actually come back and paint those stripes white as opposed to the color that it is now, so that it pops a little bit more. But I don't plan on painting any shadow on the actual clothing, but I will include some form of shadow, I think, on the skin, just to have those things stand out where I want them to stand out. So there's a lot more to incorporate here, and I'm excited about doing that. So this kind of stems from a series that I was doing maybe in end of 2018, where I was working on papers, painting on paper, and just doing these rough background colors for the base color in the background, and then painting the figure on top of that. So that's where we at. What is it? Day 27. So 3 more days to go. Those are going to be work days. So, trying to fit in schedule to paint and do all that stuff. But I think it's going to work out fine. Just got to find more materials to paint on. I think I'll probably try to finish out doing those, or doing some of those. So see where we go from there. So rounding up, then day 30 will probably be a longer video. Hopefully not. I might not need to talk that much. You'll see it. You'll be able to go back and see how I was feeling the whole way through. But I'll probably jump through a lot of those things. So that's where we're at. Day 27. MBEYARTS, Agency Arts, all of the things. We out of here. Alrighty. Here, entered the agency. Boom. Alright, so now we're back in the agency. Once again, your host, Agent M. Bey. This is the final finito, last day of my 30-day challenge. And I already did my painting, so I've always done my videos that way. So the way I set this up, this is what, Wednesday, so, I work Monday through Wednesday. So, the last 3 days I've been painting, the last 2 days I've been painting late in the evening. So I haven't been able to record my video, because of doing other things. So, since I skipped my videos, this will account for days 28, 29, and 30. Where we at? First, paintings, right? So in day 28 and 29, I worked on this painting up here. All right. So this is another explorative agent painting. What I did do is I changed the color, as I mentioned. So, I got this strong blue in here for nice contrast. Painted the phone got painted, added some more depth and color to the skin tones. The whole goal of this painting was to figure out how to capture multi-layered images through painting. And so, as I have two necks, two shoulders in that regard, the other shoulder there, and then boom, boom, 2 hands, 4 hands, but you got this hand layered over this arm, but it's actually in front of behind it. It's just fun play of color, and then all kind of finalizing into this one head here, which isn't complete. So that's what I worked on for those 2 days, and then for the final day, and looking to do something similar, in the vein of the other two, I painted. I referenced a self-portrait or a photograph of myself to create a self-portrait, and when I draw this small, which I'm able to cover, the entire figure, and there you don't have the body coming off of the screen. Oh man, that's technology for you. I wasn't trying to use my acrylic paint for trying to paint all this detail, because for one, acrylic paint and oil paint, those paints build on top of the canvas, right? And so you start to lose things like line quality when you have paint that's actually building on top of, because then you have to put paint, you have to compensate for that if you're trying to create more definition. My way of doing that is very similar to watercolor. So I just started exploring watercolor last year, in 2019, and that's when I really learned the similarities in the transparency of my acrylic painting, but how much differently the mediums worked. So I'm able to get a lot more illustrative quality, or retain my illustrative quality from using watercolors, as opposed to when I'm painting with acrylics. And so I started doing a lot more of this so that I could get better when I'm working on acrylic paintings. But I prefer to, if I'm doing that, working on acrylic paintings that are much larger, or I'm able to cover more of a figure. And so I opted to go to watercolors because watercolor takes up a lot less space. So once I got through my head that I was going to paint watercolor, boom, I painted watercolor. So yeah, this is the painting that I did between, did I just front? Yeah, I did. So this actually covers 4 days, but I spoke on day 27. So this is day 28, and then this is day 29 and day 30. Correct. All right, so correction made. This self-portrait was really fun. As you can see it, there's color. I just wanted to play with color a lot. And I did. I referenced some of the original colors, from a yellow jersey, and some red pants, and then just had some fun with it. And as opposed to creating a background, I wanted to maintain that the figure was actually standing on something. So I just did my portals and had them standing on them, as opposed to having the nets go through them. So back to my face. So let's talk about what this challenge, what I accomplished, what I learned, all those things in doing a 30-day challenge. Biggest thing, recognizing the time that you allot yourself to create, and knowing what you have material-wise to create with. Now, as I said earlier in this, my goal was to paint every day. And the intention in doing that was because I knew that some hiccups would come and I would need to create or develop a design, which usually starts with drawing, and that can take a lot of time. But if I push myself to do that and still paint, then I knew that I would be able to, overcome some of the challenges that I might create for myself over time. And so as opposed to saying that I just want to work on art every day or create something every day or do something, I pushed myself so that I would do more than just a minimum. And that's what I was kind of getting at. So I wanted to make sure I was doing more than just a minimum, because I wanted to see some projects or some products come out of this and not just be working on like the same painting for 30 days and, going from start to finish, how long it takes. I was like, all right, here's the first layer, here's the second layer, blah, 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 boring. And also it will push me to, develop some ideas that I'm looking to work on in the future. And this is also coming in wanting to work on a series of art based on a residency program I did in Cuba last year in 2019, in order to try to figure out how to create a process for creating that work. Even though I already kind of have one, I wanted to push myself to get in the mood for getting into that process again. For me, early in this challenge, it was a couple days before I started my residency program in Gloucester. I knew that going to the residency program, I was going there to work, to paint, to create art. And so I knew that would be easy to do. And my initial goal was to paint one painting for the first 4 days, and then paint a second painting for the last 4. I developed a design, as you saw earlier in this challenge, of this painting, the drawing. I drew that painting out. Oh wait, there's a lot of paintings there. I drew this painting out before I went, so it was illustrated on the canvas. And then when I got there, I was able to just put some layers on. Once I got set up in the studio, put some layers on, I got started, and I worked on that. And then I found myself working on smaller canvases based on the scenery that I was surrounded by. And then the second half of the program, I worked on a second painting I don't have here because it's out at the gallery there. That one, so the painting I just showed you, that one I did to get me in the zone or the mood to create the second painting, because I was doing an interview with a local business owner and I wanted to paint a painting of her in my style. So I knew essentially what I wanted to do, but I hadn't been creating that much up until this point, so I wanted to do something to get me, kind of in the mood. So I did that. Doing a challenge. Why do a challenge? Right, let's go with that. Why do a challenge? I said why I would do it, but I wanted to kind of share why someone else might want to create or do a challenge. People do challenges all the time. You always want to do it just to be better, to create, to do better, be better at something, right? And it gives you a time frame to work. It gives you a sense of focus that we generally lose on a day-to-day basis if, we don't have things like deadlines or someone else pushing us to do it. We don't have that responsibility to anyone else. Usually when we have a responsibility to ourselves to do something, we're very easily going to put it aside if something comes in the way. And so for me, when I make a challenge for myself, it makes it, that much easier for me to focus on something that I want to do. And it was the moment that I made it public that I knew that I would see it through. And I knew I could tell myself to do it, and I knew what inspired me to do it, and I would do it anyway, which was when I was reading Common's book, Let Love Have the Last Word. Yeah, Let Love Have the Last Word. When I was reading that, that's what inspired me to do this challenge. But I wanted to put a secondary something in place to make sure that, in case I fell off the wagon, I knew I had to report and be responsible to something else. So I created a responsibility publicly, and created some form of this video and rapport with the public, in which reporting it back, and a system in which how to report back, so that I had a reason to still create, because I was like, all right, I got to make sure that these videos come out. I can't just drop off. And so in this challenge, for me, painting, it just got me to, explore some ideas that keep coming in my mind that I don't get the chance to work on. And so, and speaking of reasonings, this is another one. I've fallen into the trap of feeling I don't have enough artwork when I know I have a lot, but just in wanting to build up my body of artwork, and knowing that the more that I create at any scale, the more that I learn. Essentially, the more I learn about myself, the more about techniques and skills, and the better I can get. So, body of work. So, create. If you feel like you don't have the body of work that you want to have, like maybe you want to have like a body of work that all looks very similar. So, for example, like those 3 paintings up there, they all look very similar, and these all fit within another 5 paintings that I painted. And so, like, I'm very satisfied by having something like that, because it gives me a sense of where my mind was at the time, and what I was exploring, what I was thinking. It's almost like a documentation of thought, for a moment of time. And so, if you're thinking like, I don't think I have a body of work to really compete with the level of professionalism that I feel like I could be at, then that's a good time to do that. Create yourself a challenge, and in that challenge, I think that don't make the goal. You can do this, but you don't always have to make the goal completion. I think it's more important that you make the goal creation. If you look at our lives, we exist as far as on this physical world until we don't. So at no point in between that do we stop existing, right? And so we're always in our lifetime creating until we stop existing. And so in that same way, when doing a challenge, don't think of completion so much as thinking of creation. And so for me in this challenge, my goal was not to create 30 paintings in 30 days by painting a painting every day. It was just to put paint on canvas every day, and by the end of it, have created, a body of work. And so I would say in this challenge, I created about 14 paintings in 30 days, from large scale kind of exhibition paintings, or exhibition style paintings, or final complete works, to studies. What is that, like 8 by 10 inch studies. So I created from a scale of works that I wasn't thinking, all right, I need to get in and paint and complete a painting every day. That's a lot of work, especially when you have other things going on. Like, you might only have 2 to 3 hours a day, and not everybody can create a painting in 2 to 3 hours that they're happy with. So think of it that way. So when I first started my agent drawings, I created a method in how to create drawings every day, because my goal then was to create drawings every day, and I didn't have a time limit on it. I just wanted to do it until I just eventually stopped doing it. But I created a process and a method of how to develop my images. So I would do the contour outline drawing for about 3 drawings in one night, and then I would come back the next day and draw the next on all of them, and then the last day, and maybe do like the early shading, and then the last day do like finalization of shading and detail, and then that would be 3 drawings in 3 days. But it wasn't a complete drawing every day. It was developing drawings over that time, and that's kind of what I did this time. So that's one of the bigger things that I would share about doing this challenge. In this challenge, I did miss one day. So out of 30 days, I didn't get to paint one day. I'm not upset about that. I said it early in there, like, have a cheat day. Like, you might lose a day or you might miss a day, but if you know that you're still inspired or motivated to get it done, don't let that missed day affect you. And the reason I didn't make this a thing where I was reporting to the people daily about it was for one because it was personal. It was for me, and how I wanted to share it was in this format as opposed to maybe on Instagram daily. I do think I could have done a little bit more of that, sharing on Instagram, kind of daily, just to keep people in tune to what was happening. Also, like you can tell, the videos changed over time. At first, it was me talking about painting and showing me painting. And then it came into this method, and most of that was due to like being able to how to like record and put this all together. And so it became easier to just record these videos of how I paint, or what I painted, and what I learned, what my challenges were for the day, and leave it at that, and show you, what I worked on. I think I've actually said more than enough about doing this challenge, and what some of the hiccups and issues are. The biggest thing still is just like being able to lock down and dedicate time to what you want to do. Now, if you know that you're maybe not so good at something, like you don't have references, images, and ideas to create for 30 days, because that can be a challenge within itself. It's like, what are you going to paint or draw for 30 days? Like, you got to figure that out, or for however long you decide. Like, you have to figure that out. And for me, I developed that a long time ago. So I know what my default references are and how to find them, how to get what inspires me, and how to pull from that to create artwork. Everybody's not always there, ready for that, or is at that point in their career. Many artists are still trying to figure out their voice, and so they don't have that immediate reference that they can go find and say, "Oh, I'm going to paint that." It takes maybe a little bit longer, and this is also good for just like exhausting ideas that you want to do. So let's say you have, I'll go with me. Like I often want to like create just fully abstract works, as opposed to some of my usual agent figurative works. But I always get into this, struggle with, when I'm creating work, putting a figure on it, and how does a figure interact with the space, as opposed to just leaving it as an abstract exploration of color or whatever it is. And so I could say, all right, for the next 30 days, I'm going to work on abstract paintings only. And then I can build up a body of work of abstract paintings, in which I found myself kind of like short on that back in early summer, because I had a few opportunities come up that my abstract works lended themselves to more than my figurative works. And so I had to find a way to push myself to create some abstract works in that time, as well as realizing, oh man, it'd be nice if I had some of these abstract works just on deck. So again, like knowing what you want to create makes it a lot easier to do the challenge. So maybe painting is a challenge for you because it takes, if you have a process like me, it takes finding your reference, drawing it first or illustrating it first, and then painting that. But knowing your process, again, is what's important, and knowing how you can create. So maybe you go, all right, I want to develop my illustrative skills right now. Let me draw for 30 days. And I'll work on, different parts of the body, because I want to work on anatomy and the figure and be better at that. Or, anything, maybe if you're into flora or fauna, and you want to do studies of flowers, you can always, go get you some, before your challenge starts, or, go out and get some reference images, and then during your challenge, go find more, go out into the world, nature, go get your references, put them in a folder on your phone, and then that when it comes to a new day or a new work, you pull out that reference gallery, scroll through, find what you want to do, and you work on that for the day, and then know what you're trying to do with that. So it's like, all right, I want to draw outline drawings, or I want to work on shading or value. Know what you want to do, and it can change during your challenge, but just have some idea. That's super important, because you don't want to get burnt out before the challenge ends. You don't want to get burnt out mentally, because it takes a lot of mental power to do this, mental strength to do this. And so an easier way to extend your mental strength throughout one of these types of challenges is your preparation before the challenge, and creating ways in which your mind doesn't have to think so much. So I mean, it's a lot more difficult to just put an empty canvas or paper in front of you and say, all right, I'm gonna draw something, and then don't look at anything and just be like, what are you have to try to figure out what to draw. Then you have to try to figure out what that thing actually looks like, what angle it should be at, and you're trying to figure out things that you could easily reference and find that answer, to where your mind doesn't have to think as much. You just have to look and work on your hand-eye coordination to create what it is that you're looking at. And then when you get to a point where you're you're creating some type of style for yourself, for like for me, for my agents, like elongating the neck. Over time, I've found ways to make it longer and found new ways to make it move. You can spend more time of your mental energy on that as opposed to on the actual object. But you might just want to be doing studies of those projects or those objects, those things. So know what it is that you want to do, and it's better if you have like a theme as opposed to just random things. If you're saying, all right, I'm going to draw fruit for the first 10 days, then I'm going to go with these other objects for the next whatever, and then think of those objects and how many times you can render them. So it's like, all right, I want to draw this object, but I want to draw it at multiple angles, and so I'll do this angle this day, this angle this next day. You can get a lot out of it. So I think I want to try to wrap that up, because this actually turned into a much longer video than I expected, but I think it's good. So take what you will from what it is that I shared. Continue to follow and see what type of things I share. I think I have like 2 drawing videos I've been waiting to share, but I'm waiting on some like collaborative things to happen first. So look forward to those in the future. I got some more studio videos that I want to share, interviews I have to share. So stay tuned. There's a lot of interesting content here at Agency Arts, and I plan on continuing to expand that. So this is the conclusion of MBEYARTS Agency Arts 30-day painting challenge, and I would say that I'm very proud of myself for what I came up with and accomplished. And I miss watercolors. I'll just put that out there. So that's that. I'm gonna get out of here. Y'all can go check out another video. You can subscribe. You can click that notification bell. You can definitely like. Please send some positive feedback and comments. And that's where we at. If you want to cop a shirt, check the link in the bio or the description. MBEYARTS Market on Spreadshirt. Send your boy a couple bucks. And that's that. Look forward to interacting with y'all later in this here interactive virtual space. And Agents out of here.